Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Dojo Live. This is Tulio Siragusa broadcasting from Southern California. Today is August 17th, 2021. Happy birthday, Pop Up! August 17th, 2021. I'm joined today by my co hosts, Kim Lantis in Hermosillo, Mexico, and Carlos Ponce
Hi.
in Cuernavaca, Mexico. Hi, guys. Welcome sabac.
Pleasure to be here, Sabertulio.
And we have Leigh D'Angelo today, who's the CEO and co-founder at Dig and Tabby. And we're going to be talking about dating and pets. Dating and pets. But before we go into that topic today, let's get to know Leigh a little bit. Please, Leigh, introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us a little about you.
First, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here. Again, I'm Leigh D'Angelo, CEO and co-founder of Dig, the dog person's dating app, and Tabby, the cat person's dating app. I'm coming to you live from New Orleans, Louisiana. You will be able to hear my dog Penny in the background as she's running around with some sort of toy she just pulled out of an old suitcase just as we were starting. So lucky everyone here. But yes, my background before getting into pets and dating was in TV news reporting. I was an investigative reporter on different TV stations across the country and in Southwest Africa in Namibia for One Africa Television. I had my master's in Homeland Security and Emergency Response Management. I was a professor at Tulane for Media, Terrorism, and Disasters, as well as Introduction to Journalism. I've worked in the nonprofit world. I was the regional director for a large nonprofit here in Louisiana, the Coastal Conservation Association. And I do web modernization work and NASA TV work for NASA, sending people back to the moon and beyond. And so I wrapped all that up with a nice bow because there are dog and cat lovers everywhere looking for love, and that takes precedent. And so I started Dig and Tabby with my sister, Casey Isaacson, a few years ago.
Wow. So from the public sector to the private sector, tell us a little bit about these two initiatives. What gave birth to Dig and Tabby? What is it all about?
A few years ago, my sister was dating a guy who tried so hard to be a dog person for her. But by the end of the relationship, he didn't want the dog in his apartment, or he'd put towels or blankets down on the couch so the dog didn't touch anything. And she said to me, I wish I just knew from the start that this wasn't going to work because of my dog. This is not something she was going to give up. It wasn't even on the table, right? This is something that she loved and cared about and mattered deeply to her. And we realized as sisters, we had all of the perfect components separately. Casey is in the advertising design world as an art director, extraordinarily creative. Moving forward in the business, everything you see started from Casey. So every advertisement, every investor deck, every marketing, every partnership deck or way that we work with each other, all of the screens on the app themselves, all done by Casey. And we said, she can make things look good. I can make things sound good. And if we find the right team to make them work, we would have a really interesting service and product that in the end, if it worked well, would mean people were falling in love and dogs would be benefited. Again, we started with Dig. So we started with Dig on Valentine's Day in 2018. We launched city by city across the country with big dog-friendly events where we brought together dozens of different dog businesses, local dog businesses and rescues, and basically had the most fun dog-friendly trade show that you imagine, having local businesses supporting each other with tons of singles coming out with their dogs to meet each other, interact with the businesses, doing things like making dog treats or, building bandanas or learning how to do dog CPR in these fun events city by city across the country. As we started doing that, we would get, of course, local press to cover each one of these events, with part of my background being TV news reporting. All of the partners would let the word out about Dig to all of their customers and followers. And so we were able to grow Dig very quickly. And we launched Tabby just 1 year ago on International Cat Day. And that is, like I said, just about a year old. What we realized really quickly was that while dog people wanted a dating app, cat people needed a dating app. You don't have, you don't have dog parks like you do for dogs, but for cats. You can't bring your cat to restaurants. You can't necessarily pick out your crazy cat lady like you can a dog person on the street. And so Tabby has just taken off even faster than Dig.
Fascinating. That puts a whole new meaning to blended family, right? Nobody ever thinks about it. If you've got a pet and they have a pet, you're coming together. That's part of the blended family, right? The pets
I
have to get
promise you the
along
singles
too.
are thinking about it. Yeah, for sure.
All
And
right.
especially during COVID, right? When you're
Right.
thinking about who were you at home with during lockdown? If you're single and you have a pet, and 55% of single adults in the US are pet owners with dogs and cats leading the way, that means more than ever, this is something that matters deeply to you and your home life. Find someone that meshes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
There's this meme. I don't know if you've seen that on Facebook or social media. It's something about like, my boyfriend is allergic to cats. I need to find a new home. His name is Tom, or he's a Tom, and he's ginger, 8 years old, and works in IT. Right. So it's like getting
not
rid
the
of
cat
the
Yeah, we're not
boyfriend.
gonna
It's
do
not
that.
the cat that's
for.
good up for
Yeah.
adoption. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I
Let's see
love
what we
it.
can learn. Let's go right into it. Kim, please, let's introduce the show today.
Yeah, today's show, as we already said, is pets and dating. I think Tulio introduced that as dating and pets, but here we see that it's actually the pets that are taking priority and coming first. So this is all about how having the right niche community makes sense within the world of dating apps. So my question for you as we start the show, Leigh, first of all, thank you for being here, is we've addressed that niche community of pet lovers, pet owners. Is this up and coming? Are there other niche communities within dating apps that you've seen, or are you really on the front end of this?
Really both. I mean, lots and lots of niche apps out there, and especially in the dating world. But the dating app industry is very young, right? It's about a decade old. And you started with Grindr and then Tinder, and you started on these very big playing fields where you can swipe all day if you want. And pretty soon after, Dig was kind of at the forefront in the niche world. But before Dig came a lot of niche in relation to religion or location. And so people started realizing, okay, what matters most to me and how does it affect my life? And so you heard of things like Christian Mingle, J Swipe or J Date. And so there were niches, and people started realizing that this was a great opportunity for you to really cut to the chase, figure out what matters most to you. And now there are hundreds of niche dating apps out there. You could be, looking for someone who loves baseball. You could be looking for someone who is a runner. You could be, maybe you love yoga. You want to find someone who does yoga. But what we like to say is yoga doesn't sleep with you in your bed at night, right? This is a niche that matters so much to people because it affects every aspect of that relationship and their home life going forward. And that's their animals in the house.
Fantastic. So
That's really interesting. Heads up, team. I'm having a bit of connectivity, so if I'm delayed or weird, that's why. I'm sorry. I
no
interrupted
worries.
you.
We'll
Tulio.
jump
That
in.
wasn't
We'll
my intention.
manage.
Go ahead.
Yeah. same
Hopefully,
here.
the steam-powered internet will get
Steam
better.
powered internet for Kim.
No, I don't know what that. It's not bad. I don't know what it is. It's odd.
Go ahead, Carlos. I think you have a question.
Yeah, actually, yes, I do. Thank you, Tulio. Leigh, you mentioned that this is what I heard, and it was very interesting to think of the possible scenarios. You mentioned that dog people want it's Dig, right? But cat people need Tabby. So there's a big difference between want and need, and I can understand why. You cannot just, as you said, bring your cat along to a park or to a restaurant and have it, leashed next to your chair. So how do you go about reaching out to cat owners? Because what I heard was that in the case of dogs, well, there's a lot of events, there's a dog show and all that. So how do you go about reaching out to your potential user base, or how do you focus on adoption, for example, of this platform?
Yeah, great question. And before I answer that, I'll add one other piece on how cat people need this. There was a study last summer from Colorado State University that said men who have cats in their profile photos on general dating apps perform worse and get fewer matches than if they didn't have an animal in their photos at all, which was a
Ooh.
major surprise. You thought animals would be an automatic bonus, but to so many people, cat men are seen as neurotic, less masculine, and it's to cat people crazy, right? Because to cat people, you're showing compassion. You're showing the capacity to love, which, if you're swiping through general dating apps, is always a major question with a lot of those photos and people that you come across, right? And so this isn't just, we can't find people out in the real world who are cat people. Of course you can. A lot of cat people wear it proudly on their sleeve, right? But it's the fact that people are actually hiding who they are on dating apps because of this stigma around crazy cat lady or cat guys seen as less masculine. And so giving them their own space was that much more important to the cat community than, like I said, dog people, where it's extraordinarily fun. It matters just as much to your life. And there's a major, major market for both of them, but it's just different. Like you said, cat people needed one. And so, yes, on the dog side, we get the word out with big in-person or in-dog events, right, across the country, where we get the word out with a lot of press. We get a lot of localized press for Tabby as well. But our social ads are what really stand out for Tabby. All advertisements on social media feature adoptable animals from local rescues. And of course, they're really fun, lots of puns baked into it, but it's a way that really helps people want to promote our app because they're not just sharing an advertisement for something that their single friend would really enjoy. They're also sharing information about an animal in need. And so we partnered with local rescues from the very beginning, saying, as a startup, how can we help these rescues when we can't just give them all of our money yet? And we said, okay, well, we know we're going to put some money into advertising. Maybe that could also benefit these local rescues by kind of bringing them along everywhere we go. And so that's been an incredibly important point and value to our company from the very start.
Great, thank you, Leigh. Now, the one more thing is curious about is you have on your website, specifically on Tabby's website, you have a call to partner, right? So I'm curious how you go about. Uh, please tell me if I'm not using the right word. How do you go about curating who to partner with? And this is because maybe, and this is just a big maybe, you might have a company that wants to partner with you, but then when you see the application or the form or the information for about the partner, you might perceive it as a not so cat friendly company. So how do you go about curating who to partner with?
We have a lot of different types of partnerships. And so maybe there's a company that has nothing to do with cats, but they've always wanted to be known as animal friendly. For example, hotels have reached out to us for a lot of different types of partnerships. And so that's why making sure we have a lot of different opportunities for partnerships is really important. Maybe all they have to do is be our rescue partner and do a big donation and giveaway that we're able to do with them to a cat rescue, right? That's really important. Maybe we want to have an event at their location for either Dig or Tabby. Or, large companies, small companies have great connections to vets, trainers that would be able to provide content to our users on tips or tricks or, ways to make sure that you're introducing the animals correctly on dates, whatever it may be. And so we work with all different types of partners, and we find a lot of different ways that, number one, will provide value to our users in addition to them looking for love. So that might be just a straight up deal on, a unique treat that you can win over their cat or dog from the start with. Or it might be more creative in terms of content, location, rescue partnerships and such.
So,
Thank
Leigh,
you, Leigh.
how do you? It sounds when it comes to community, you're building um, enough of a connection point for the pet owners to have access to different types of either services or products or even hotel stays, pet friendly vacation destinations, etc. Sounds that something that could be valuable if you're a pet owner, period, whether you have a dog or a cat. How do you go about balancing that community with also the dating element of it? How did you strike that balance? You have a user base you work with to validate which of these two to try to blend together well? How does that come together? for you
Number
guys?
one, we are a place to find other people you want to date. And we never
Okay.
want that to get confused. The reason dating apps work is because you don't somewhere like a bar and have to figure out why people are there. There's a lot of different reasons why people date, but at least you get that out of the way, right?
Mm.
And so we want to make sure that nothing interferes with you finding the person that's most compatible for you and the animals in your life. Now, in addition to that, we can provide value to the dates that you're going to go on, to the type of life you guys want to lead in terms of conversation starters. We have polls and things on our app that might help spark different topics of conversation with the people you're talking to. And that can incorporate different brands and partnerships that we have. But it's all with the idea that we're helping you find the person that you're going to fall in love with. For example, one of our biggest partnerships for Dig is with a big dog daycare company, and we're announcing it in the next month, but it's across the country, hundreds of different locations. And if you upgrade Dig to kind of Dig VIP, you get a day at this dog daycare facility. So you're able to drop the dogs off so they can run around and play and meet each other, while maybe you go on something that wouldn't have been a dog-friendly date, like a fancy dinner. Right. And so this is a way that we're able to tie these two businesses together, but really provide value to the daters themselves.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm interested to know, like, when someone signs up to Dig or Tabby, what are the first sort of filters that I fill out? I assume, since it is a dating app, you're most interested in me, Kim, as a person. But is there like a pet profile as well? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, there are lots of questions. So it's first important to note that you don't have to have a dog or cat to be on Dig or Tabby. A third of our users don't have a pet yet. They want to date someone with a dog or cat, which is a major bonus in the dating world, right? But that's one of your main questions. So do you have a dog or cat yet? What are their names? Some basic information there. And then you start building out additional information about those animals. And we call them on Dig like little dog tags that you can add to your profile. Does your dog sleep in the bed with you at night? Is it hypoallergenic? Is it a rescue dog? Is it an influencer dog on Instagram? You're able to fill out a little bit more information and give that dog as much of a fighting chance of being that conversation starter just as much as you. But like you said, much more interested in you personally, but being able to describe you and what you love through the lens of your dog is where the magic really happens. You're much. What I like to tell people is on a date, if you bring your dog, it's really hard to be pompous when you're picking up dog poop, right? Like, we all just get leveled to the same playing field as you bend over with that biodegradable dog and pick up dog poop, right? And we're trying to get that same feeling on the apps themselves, where we don't want you to have to hide who you are in any way. And one of the best ways to let people let their walls down is by really being dog or cat first. And that's where this idea really works.
I think to me, I imagine a plus of this type of app also is, even if it doesn't work out romantically, like I didn't make that romantic click with this individual, I think there's a secondary effect of building friendships, right? So, but we did have fun. Our animals clicked, and just the whole niche and the community side beyond it. I really see that as an added
That's a
bonus.
major point. I mean, you're not wasting your time on Dig and Tabby at all, right? If you go out on a date and you bring your dog got exercise that day, whether y'all connected or not. And maybe you find a cat sitter for the future, or maybe you learn something that'll benefit your cat. Like, there's so many reasons to be on here. And so often daters get sucked into what's basically a part-time job's worth of time. The average user on dating apps today uses 3 or 4 apps at one time for 9 to 10 hours a week.
Wow.
That's a major time investment. And if there's going to be at least some benefit to something else you love, it's going to feel a lot better.
I really like what you said earlier about leveling the playing field and seeing a person's character when you're cleaning up after your pet. and there's nothing more
Or lack
humbling
of
than
character if they don't.
there's nothing more humbling than using baby wipes to clean up after your pet as well. So, there's like an extra step for some people to clean up after their pet. But I was like thinking, my gosh, this would be so awesome in like cities like Los Angeles, where it's just people complain about finding genuinely good, humble people to date. It sounds as though like if you have a pet, maybe this is a good way to determine someone willing to go the extra mile or serve the need of like a pet, that way. So my question is, you said 55% of singles had pets during the pandemic. That was something that was discovered. How many of those are using online dating apps, and what is the have you tracked any sort of uh, percentage improvements or metrics around the effectiveness of using this kind of app versus just someone saying I have a dog or I have a cat on traditional dating app? Is there some kind of a metric that you guys are trending or tracking that would give folks who do have a pet or are looking to date and sort of an advantage viewpoint to want to move over to what you guys are offering?
Sure. So, out of about 120 million single adults in the US, we've got about 34 million who are on dating apps. That number is actually higher, like I said, because you're on a lot of different dating apps. So, there's a lot of different profiles out there, people spending time. And there are a lot of metrics on how many clicks or swipes or messages it takes on general dating apps to go all the way to actually meeting in person. Right. And so, it might and it's different, and you can look it up online from all these different, OK Cupid blogs and people trying to really figure out those metrics, which is really fun. But the idea is there are ways to make apps better by taking a look at that entire funnel. And so you look at, how many swipes does it take to get to a match? How many matches does it take to get to starting actual message with someone? How many messages does it take to get to actually swapping out real phone numbers or doing a video call on the app itself? And how many of those does it take to then go out on a date? And our hypothesis from the beginning has been, if we can start at the beginning and basically funnel that for you, and so you're not having to swipe as many people to get to someone that matters and matters most to you in that first area, then you'll be more likely to match. And then when you're messaging, you'll have better conversations because it's around all of these aspects of things you love and things that matter to you in your life. And you, like you said, let your walls down and have more genuine connections from the beginning, that it'll lead to more dates. And so that's been our idea from the very beginning, and that's what we're tracking.
Yeah, and talking about your
Nice.
pet is an automatic, easy conversation.
Oops.
I think,
Kim froze.
she froze. Yeah. Well,
I was gonna
well,
say just that first creak
uh,
creak of like, what do we talk about? And you go like, this is Dory.
See? Yeah, for pet people, it makes a huge difference, and we all get it. And like I said, if you're hiding that on other dating apps, so you think everyone else is doing it, or you think
She
they won't
came in
like
for a
your
minute.
cat.
Am I the only one missing? Or is it me?
I think there's a delay. That's what's going on.
We're
Right?
good, Kim. Let's just keep going. We're good.
All right, we're catching up. We're there, Leigh. My question came back. My last question for today. It came back to something that Tulio had said, and the availability of doing that video chat via the app. With COVID and the tendency to go out less, probably to do this physical dating, what have you had to do creatively or your UX UI experience to help Dig and or Tabby to be a better experience with this whole strange year and a half?
Now, one of the first things we did was actually take that in-person experience and figure out what we could do in the app itself. So on Dig, we called it the dog park, and on Tabby, we called it the cat tree. And this is a community area where you're able to interact with everyone on the app and share, date ideas, post your favorite cat-friendly cafe to let other people know about it, post photos, answer polls, and really communicate with people on a larger way. than we had before, because you're really missing that in-person larger community experience. But then also right away what we did was build out the ability for video calls. Like you said, that became extraordinarily popular and very important to daters during the pandemic, as we were encouraging them to not go out. And as things started opening up on Dig, what we said was 2 leash lengths apart is about 6 feet, right? So if you're going to go out on a date together, you can try to do things like that, but really working with our users and figuring out what's safest for them, and making sure that they're following community guidelines. Everybody go get your vaccines, make sure your animals are up to date on vaccines, and make sure you are as well, to make sure you're safe out there.
Leigh, I got one more final question. The other day, I was watching a movie on Netflix that had to do with a gentleman that he was using a dating app, and the caveat to this was that he was able to do something like sue the president, because in case that her thousands date didn't work out. So I was thinking of that as I was listening to everything that had to do with Dick and Tabby. So my question to you is, do you have any anecdotes that you could share regarding things you have learned along the way, that maybe some fun stories about, maybe a dog that turned out to be a monster or vice versa, and then people, getting just, uneasy about what's going on? Do you have any fun anecdotes that have come out of this whole endeavor of creating Tabby and Dick?
Now, our most fun anecdotes are the love stories, not the horrible stories. Now, we try to limit the horrible stories by providing things like vets and trainer tips for the best way to introduce the animals, to really make sure that you start off on the right step there. But of course, what I love is the love stories. One of the first engagements that we were told about from Dig came from someone who was in his 70s, who was getting married for his second time. He had a dog, and the woman that he found on Dig didn't have a dog, but she thought she was supposed to, so she borrowed her friend's dog for all of her photos.
Okay.
And they met through Dig, through their love of dogs and animals, and that was our first engagement, and that was in the Boston area. So those are my favorite anecdotal stories for sure.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
The
Thank you so
borrowed
much,
dog.
Leigh.
Yeah. I just thought somebody's got to come up with a business, so rent a dog for your picture day or something.
Well, what we encourage is actually short-term foster. So if you think you need a dog for your date, go out and foster that dog for the week. You're helping the animal and maybe helping you on your date as well.
And
Leigh,
if it doesn't
I'm
work
your
out, don't
biggest
let the
fan.
dog bite you on the way out. Instead of the door hit you on the way out.
We got it. But
Not my forte. Well, we're up on time, Leigh. It's been great speaking with you, but we would be remiss not to ask the question. You made a pretty significant shift in your career, becoming an entrepreneur. What's that been like for you? What's that journey been like for you? Any words of wisdom you'd like to share with other folks, maybe on the fence about pursuing something that like this? What words of wisdom would you have to share?
You've probably heard this 1,000 times, so just make sure you're surrounded by the right team. Not every sibling pair can start a business, and I wouldn't recommend it for everyone. We were perfect in part because she still lives in Brooklyn and I live in New Orleans. And so we're not sisters on top of each other's and co-founders, but she is the absolute best and most amazing co-founder I could ever ask for. She can call me out on anything. I can call her out on anything. And having that honest relationship is so important. But really taking stock of what you're good at is extraordinarily important, and finding the team to really supplement you and help you grow. And the only other piece of advice I love to give people is think about something you have to offer people all the time. Because if you're going to start as an entrepreneur, you're going to be asking for favors constantly. Go rate my app. Go be a beta tester. Can you look at this code and find this bug, please? My one developer is on vacation this week. Whatever it may be. And so always figure out something that you can offer people in return. I had one friend who would offer to do a cartoon drawing of your dog if you helped in any way, as he asked for me and help looking over their press releases, for example. Something you can do that's outside the business that you're always offering help to people, because you're going to be asking for a lot of it too. and just making sure you're building relationships in the right way helps a lot.
All right. Sounds like what I heard is learn to barter with your friends and colleagues. It's great to have had you on the show. We'll keep tabs on you to see how this progresses along. And we wish all dog lovers and cat lovers to check out the app. Find true love, someone who shares your passion for furry creatures in your life. Thanks for being with us today. Just stay with us as we go off the air in a minute or two. Carlos, what do we got coming up? We have 2 shows tomorrow and 1 on Thursday, right?
Yeah. Actually, I was going to say that we still have 3 shows left for the week. Tomorrow we have 2, one at 10 and at 10 a.m. Pacific, and then the other one at 12. The first one is managing a remote workforce without sacrificing innovation. That's with Gabe G-Check, the CEO of Kasasa. Then at 12, we have Can Grocers Compete with Amazon? That's with Stefan Kalb, the CEO and co-founder of Shelf Engine. Finally, on Thursday, we'll be speaking with Pedro Goes, the CEO of In Event, and the topic will be how the virtual marketplace is refitting event services professionals. So we have a full week ahead still, so stay with us, folks, right here on Dojo Live as ever, and stay safe, everyone. And of course, thank you, guys, and thanks to our guests today.
Thanks
Thanks,
you.
everyone. See you
Bye.
again at 10 a.m. Pacific tomorrow.